The sun bled across the horizon like a wounded beast, turning the skies above the town of Dustwater a deep crimson. The wind blew dry and heavy, curling dust around boots and wagon wheels. Life in Dustwater was brittle, just like its people, hardened, sunburnt, and scarred. Reina Dawson didn't flinch as she walked barefoot down Main Street with her wrists bound and lips cracked. Her once beautiful dress, the color of sage and lavender, now hung in tatters. Blood crusted her cheekbone, and her eyes, gray as smoke, held a kind of hollow strength born from surviving hell. Sheriff Cormac led her by a length of rope, flanked by 2 deputies. She shot him in the chest. Saw it myself, Cormac told the townsfolk gathering with morbid curiosity. Cold as a butcher's slab. That man deserved worse than a bullet, muttered someone in the crowd. But Reina didn't explain. She had no breath left for defense. And besides, justice in Dustwater didn't listen to women with broken pasts. She'd married Jebediah Tate to escape starvation, not knowing he ran his ranch like a prison, and her like property. By the end, she wasn't his wife. She was his prisoner. Now she waited for a noose. They threw her into the holding cell behind the sheriff's office, where rusted bars cast lines across her face. She curled up in the corner, bones aching, and let her eyes close. She didn't hear the horse outside, didn't hear the boots, but she felt the change in the air when he entered the room. Chapter 2, The Stranger. "Where's the woman?" the man asked, voice low and rough. Sheriff Cormac looked up from his desk, squinting. "And you are—" The man stepped into the light, broad-shouldered, dusty, with a 6-shooter on his hip and a cold, unreadable stare. His black duster fluttered behind him like a shadow. "Name's Colt McAlister. Came from Redstone. Reina's my business." Cormac leaned back slowly. "She your kin?" "No, but her dead husband was my brother." The room fell still. One deputy quietly rested a hand on his holster. "She shot your brother," the sheriff said carefully. "Came into town yesterday, bleeding and carrying his pistol. We was just about to send a wire to Redstone." Colt's jaw clenched. His eyes drifted toward the cell door. "You here for justice or revenge?" the sheriff asked. "Neither," Colt said, his voice hard. "I'm here to take her." Chapter 3, The Ride. Reina didn't speak as Colt unlocked the cell and gestured for her to follow. Dustwater's mayor signed the transfer papers with a shaky hand, more afraid of the McAlister name than the law itself. She thought Colt would strike her, maybe drag her behind the horse, or make her pay for his brother's death in some cool, drawn-out way. But he didn't say a word, just gave her a pair of boots and a canteen, then mounted his horse. They rode for hours across dry plains, silent but not at ease. She watched him, waiting for violence. But what she saw in his face was something unexpected, restraint, pain, thought. By nightfall, they reached a quiet ridge overlooking the Redstone Valley. "You can kill me now," Reina said, the firelight flickering in her eyes. "I won't fight." Colt stared at her for a long moment. Then he shook his head and pulled a tin of beans from his stool bag. "I ain't gonna kill you, Reina." "Then what do you want?" "I want the truth." Chapter 4, Firelight and Ashes. They sat beside the fire, both gaunt shadows trying to stay warm against the creeping desert chill. Colt took a slow bite of beans, then spoke. "Jeb was mean. I knew that. He always was. But blood is blood. We rode together once. After the war, things changed. We all changed." Reina's voice cracked. "He chained me to the bedpost for 2 days because I burnt his stew. Said women needed teaching." Colt stared at the fire, jaw tightening. "He drank more than he worked. Sold off your cattle. Gambled your land. Then came home and took his fist to me like I was a mule. I ran. He tracked me down. Said he'd kill my baby if I ever tried again." Colt's head turned. "Baby?" She nodded. Lost her last spring. He said it was my fault. Hit me until I stopped bleeding. The night held its breath. I didn't plan to kill him, she said. But when he came at me again, drunk and howling, I grabbed his pistol. You shot him. In the heart. Colt nodded slowly. Then, for the first time since they met, he said something gentle. You did what I should have done years ago. Chapter 5, Redemption Road. Colt didn't take Reina to Redstone. He took her to his ranch near the basin, once owned by his grandfather, now barely holding together. The fences sagged. The barn was half-rotten, but the land still breathed. She expected him to leave her in a bunkhouse or put her to work. Instead, he handed her a shovel. We rebuild together. Or not at all. Days passed. She fixed the chicken coop. He redug the well. They worked like mules and hardly spoke more than a dozen words a day. But in the silence, something fragile began to grow. She saw him chop wood with calm purpose, not rage. He saw her walk barefoot through dust, no longer hiding bruises. At night, they sat on the porch and watched the stars like old friends might. One day, Reina laughed when a chicken chased Colt into the barn, and he smiled. That night, he made cornbread and beans. She cried when she tasted it. No one had cooked for her in 5 years. Chapter 6, Trouble Rides Again. Word came from Dustwater that a bounty hunter had taken the sheriff's place. Apparently, Reina's escape was illegal in the eyes of someone back east. A judge wanted her hung, trial or not. Colt packed the saddlebags. Reina reached for her old pistol. No, he said. You stay. I ride. You're not leaving me here. I ain't risking you. But she stood firm. We either ride together or we don't ride at all. Chapter 7, Blood at Dustwater. When Colt and Reina arrived, the new sheriff, a bounty hunter named Elias, already had a rope strung over Gallows. He grinned wide when he saw them. Well, the outlaw bride and the brother. Makes for a nice painting, don't it? Colt stepped forward, hand near his holster. She's not going with you. Trig chuckled. The governor says otherwise. Reina stepped beside Colt. I've been running my whole life. Not anymore. The townspeople gathered again, just like before, but this time they didn't whisper. A woman named Maureen, who'd lost her sister to a drunken rancher, shouted, "Let her speak." A grizzled vet raised a cane. She done no wrong. Trig's smile faltered. Then Reina raised her chin. I'm not afraid of the gallows. But if Dustwater let a man like him drag me away after surviving what I have, then Dustwater's no better than Jebediah Tate. The silence broke like thunder. Someone grabbed a rifle. Others stepped forward. And for the first time, Reina wasn't alone. Trig mounted up and rode out without a fight. Chapter 8, Something Like Hope. They rode home under sky painted gold. Colt said nothing for miles. Then, I ain't good with words. Reina glanced over. Me neither. But I want you to stay. Not cause of guilt or duty. Just want you. She stopped her horse, looked at him, then leaned over and kissed him, dusty lips and all. And for the first time in years, she didn't feel hunted. She felt free. Epilogue. The quiet kind of love. The ranch bloomed like something reborn. They planted beans, raised chickens, and fixed every broken board. Children came, first neighbors, then their own.